Hello there! GM Lurch Lurchington here with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station. With me as usual are our players and their characters. Dan as Warham of Ithorn.
Hey.
David as Xavix Silverstar.
Hey guys.
And our host Kyle as Zeke.
Hello there.
Gentlemen, if you're ready to begin, let's see if the Force is with us tonight. 2 darks, 1 light, and another dark.
Ooh.
All right. Looks like the Force is with me this evening, gentlemen.
Yep. Looks like.
Last time,
Yep.
Warham and Zeke got into a little bit of action, but previous to that, their newly made acquaintance, and some might say soon-to-be friend, Xavix Silverstar, was up at the expat compound, where he was doing a little bit of the preliminary work towards setting up the race. He investigated the hangar and found that's where the former Imperial racer, Griff Halloran, had his ship currently under repairs as he was preparing it for the race. Xavix also found the large repulsor-driven race rings that will be used as course markers during the race in the hangar facility, inspected them, and found that all but 2 of them appear to be in working order. After that, Xavix made a call to Zeke and Warham to meet him in town so that they could do a little bit more footwork in preparation for the race. But Zeke and Warham haven't appeared, basically. So, I mean, I don't know how much patience you have, frankly, Master Silverstar, so...
I think after a while, if they weren't meeting me here, I would try to sense with the Force, see what's going on, see if I can feel any disturbances around me.
Awesome. Okay, so go ahead and give me a sense power check and see what you can see with the Force. So you have 4 pips, but they are all dark side pips. So the Force is not with you currently, Master Silverstar. And if you are going to reach out and sense things beyond yourself, you're going to have to push, and you're going to have to take from the universe and not merely flow with the rhythms around you. So it'll take a destiny point and some strain to use it, but you still do have pips to use if you want.
No, I don't think I will. I think the Force is telling me that maybe I should just mind my own business now or focus on something else.
As you stand there in the lightly falling snow outside the hangar complex, just about the only thing you can feel is the oppression around you from the remnant stormtroopers who are working maybe 50 feet away, sweeping snow, and then back in. There's just bad vibes coming off everything around here is what it feels like. And other than those bad vibes from all these remnant types around, you really can't pick anything up outside of this area, basically.
Well, that's going to make things a little bit difficult for me, because I definitely wanted to go talk to the Hutts, and I figured that they would have the context for that. I guess I'll have to look around for someone else.
Currently outside, there's no one, but as you head in, you know that other than Kintera being out on her expedition with Narset, you would probably be able to find any of the other members of the Expat Club inside. They're really the only contacts you've made on planet so far, other than Birdie. You stayed at her inn 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And you've spoken to the armor smith a couple of times, but I don't think he even has a name. You know? At least not one that you know.
Just to double check real quick, do I have any more debt that I need to go pay? I'm pretty sure I caught up on
No,
that, right?
You have already gotten back the coat. You're in fact wearing Calrissian's
You are fully a
long
self-made
coat
man
now.
at this point.
Right, and you paid off the armor. The armor said you'd be able to pick it up later this afternoon.
Yeah, I think I'll handle that first, but I think I need to go talk to the expats and go get some information, see if they know anybody I can talk to. I'm on a pretty strict schedule.
Absolutely. So upstairs, it's about mid-afternoon, and when you enter in through the entryway onto the main ground level of the Expat Club, you actually see that Rathamith and his friend Captain Thude, the pilot, are actually down on the main floor, back in that table on the left, near the turbo lift. They've set up back there again, and they appear to be eating and drinking. They are speaking with one of the remnant pilots. This isn't Halloran, obviously. You left him with his ship. But the 2 previous nights, you had seen that there were some of the remnant who had shown up to the club to come watch the race, included a number of pilots amongst themselves, and you see that Rathmith and Thude are speaking with one of those pilots now as you come in. Yeah, Halloran and his crew are currently...
They're in the hangar, last I saw.
Exactly, yes. You haven't been introduced to his mechanic yet, but you did notice when he was pointed out to you that he is a Rhodian.
I'm going to talk to Thude. When I walk up to him, greet him, say, well, apparently my plans today have fallen through, but I have other things I need to get to. How are you gentlemen doing today?
The 3 of them look up. The remnant pilot nods to you by way of greeting, and Thude says, well, now that things are progressing towards the race, we're doing quite well. I was just speaking with this gentleman here about our time in the service. We never flew against each other, but it was a close call a couple of times, apparently. He raises his drink to the imp, who swirls his in return and then takes a drink. He says, your plans have fallen through. What were you planning to do today?
I was planning on speaking with a pretty different organization. I definitely wanted to speak with somebody who may know the Hutt-controlled space in the area. Someone I could talk to in that area.
You might want to talk to Colvar upstairs about that then. He handles all of the club's business when it comes to our operating right, as it were.
I figured I would have to reach out to him. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy the rest of the, day?
Yeah. We're moving in towards the evening. Thude says, absolutely. Spirits have risen here, sir, and they continue to rise.
I think I'll make my way up the turbo lifts and go talk to Rathmith. I'm guessing he's in his office upstairs.
Well, Rathmith was downstairs.
Or not Rathmith, Colvar.
Colvar.
Yes, Colvar is up. He's back in his office. He greets you as you come in. Mr. Silverstar, glad to hear that our newest member is hard at work. I got a report from the hangar bay that you were down there earlier. How are Mr. Rathmith's race ring?
Well, I inspected them pretty closely, and it looks like we're going to have to do some work to fix a few of them. But we're missing about half of the amount that we need for this race entirely. So it looks like I still have to do a little bit of searching on my own. But today I was hoping to go use my contacts to go talk to the Hutts, and I heard that you might actually have connections with them as well.
He says, I've spoken with Vork on a handful of occasions, and his man Spider maybe twice as many times. The Expat Club, of course, has a long-standing agreement with the Hutt that predate Vork's own tenure here, running the operation on the planet. But we've touched in with him a number of times. He's currently off-world, from my understanding, but Spider's a reasonable fellow as long as you're talking business with him. I think it's a smart move to clear things with them before we put anything like this on.
How are relations with the Expat Club and the Hutts right now?
He says, well, business has taken a dip in the last couple of months, and that will certainly affect our negotiation.
Well, hopefully that I'm willing to work a deal with him that'll help our relations with them a little bit too. So maybe we'll work on our relationship with him here as well. Where can I find the Spider?
Says the Hutts have a compound in the city. He's generally overseeing operations from there. If you're heading over, I can call the secretary for you.
How about we extend him an invitation and show him a good time here instead?
He glances down towards his desk, and you get the impression that he's looking through it down to the main floor below, where the vast majority of the clientele is made up of remnant stormtroopers, and goes, maybe if things were operating more at a higher capacity. I don't think we have a lot to show.
Fair enough. Then I'll make my way down to see him.
He goes,
would you definitely let them know and call their secretary?
Absolutely, sir. I'll also send down to the garage and have one of the cars prepared for you.
That'd be much appreciated. All right.
He says, should I have the maintenance crew head over to the hangar and take a look at that race apparatus as well?
Any work we can get done on that while we're away would be much appreciated as well. And definitely move this along.
The Shelidae are handy with a hydro spanner. I'll have McConnell look at it.
So I take my leave, I go downstairs, and I wait outside for my my ride. I'm glad I got to take care of a few things, but I'd like to reach out again. It was kind of pushing me back, and I'd like to try that once more since I'm waiting for my ride to show up.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make another force check to see if the force is with you, Master Silverstar. 2 and 2. So you have 2 light side pips. Go ahead and pull up your force sense. How many?
No, I don't have anything else except for the first rain.
All right, so you can really only sense what's going on about 5 meters in each direction around you at the moment.
But nothing's jumping out at me then.
No. There is no imminent danger here. Your spidey senses are not tingling, other than the just generally oppressive tone of things. Now that things are a little bit clearer, you can sense that bright hope from within now that you are changing fortunes here, but the general feeling of oppression and depression that has existed here at the Expat Club and in Fishtown by and large ever since all of their customers left when the stormtroopers showed up is most of what you can sense here, but there's nothing jumping out from that gray background at you. After about 5 minutes of standing in the light snowfall, an extended speeder car pulls around. It looks more or less like the one that Rathimith brought you back from the gasworks in. The paint job is not as touched up as it could be. A lot of the serving droids are offline, and things haven't been kept up as they are, but it's a nice ride, and it brings you off towards the city. You head down through town and then make that turn to follow the highway around the bay towards the gasworks and into the city. As you do, sitting back in the plush seat of the repulsor car, you see that there is a small bar here to avail yourself of refreshments if you'd like. And really, the only thing of note is that you can see a couple of speeders tear-assing across the ice of the bay as you look out the right side of the car there as you head around towards the city. And threading its way through the high-rise towers of Iceball City, there are about a dozen enormous housing blocks that keep living conditions for the workers up at the factory within one standard deviation of acceptable. And in between these blocks, all the rest of the space of the streets has been filled in by small businesses and shops to support the lives of these workers. From the amount of housing and the figures that Rathimith gave you the other day about the operation of the factory, you wouldn't be surprised to find out that many of these workers have families on world, and it is these families that are working these side jobs in the city to support the workers of the factory. The Hutt compound itself follows a very similar pattern to the expat compound. There is a large curved wall around the compound, but the opening is much larger and many streets feed into it. And now, as you're approaching early evening, having left Fishtown in the afternoon, you see that there are many workers of various races making their way through the streets and into the main building of the Hutt compound. They have their own landing platform and hangar bay here. There are a number of buildings off to one side that look like barracks for the various enforcers that are supporting their operation in a non-worker capacity. But the main building itself is following a very rounded and organic hut design and looks like it has been built along the lines of the masters of this planet, with no regard for what sort of architecture would best fit in with the environment here. The wide steps leading up
a little heavily.
It's very Hutt. It's very Hutt style, despite the fact that we're here on Iceball, and it is as unlike Nal Hutta as you could possibly get. But they are still using very rounded, curved, organic shapes built out of imported materials to construct this, and it is definitely projecting a show of, in the same way that having a little piece of Canto Bite here on the side of a frozen bay is a projection of strength and style for the expats. The Hutts are doing that 2 orders of magnitude larger here at their own compound. the massive door in through the huge arch into the main building of the Hutt compound stands open despite the temperature. You see that there are some Gamorreans standing to either side, but they're just giving cursory glances to the worker, to the huge flow of workers that are coming up the steps and into the structure. As you dismount the speeder at the bottom of the steps, however, you see that one worker, as he passes through the archway, is stopped as a control panel off to one side emits a light. One of the Gamorreans hassles him for a while, and he produces a sidearm, which is confiscated, and then he is allowed to continue inside. So there is some manner of security here at the entrance, passively scanning those who come in.
Alright, I'm going to make my way in until I'm greeted by somebody. I feel like these are the Hutts, and I'm about to talk to the people who are in charge here. They're probably aware that I'm here already, so I'm going to make my way inside.
Can I get your stealth skill, please? I want to see whether the security system decides that the lightsaber that you are wearing, person, qualifies as a weapon or not. So I need your stealth. So as you step in through the mighty archway into Vork's palace, you hear an electronic buzz from off to the side, and one of the massive Gamorreans, who is slightly steaming in the cold air of Iceball, shuffles towards you and raises a huge green hand in front of you and gives off a squeal of command for you to stop right where you are. Yeah. Hold on. There we go. He puts out his other hand, palm up, and taps the palm with a mighty finger a few times. The blaring alarm off to the side, and the fact that there was also an advantage on the roll by the security system does not leave you a lot of room to feign ignorance as to what this Gamorrean is demanding. He's clearly not asking for the cover job.
I'm not here as a threat. I'm here as a business associate, so I'm going to assume that this deal is going to go well and go ahead and hand over my lightsaber.
He looks at it for a moment, and now I'm going to roll to see if a Gamorrean can recognize a lightsaber. He is rolling 1 green.
He's smart for his species.
Can a Gamorrean recognize a lightsaber help? Turns out he can.
Wow, but with a lot of threat.
With a lot of threat.
This is a very erudite Gamorrean guard.
He recognizes that it is a lightsaber, but with a lot of threat on his side. He also realizes that that was never on the list of specified items that he was supposed to confiscate, and he gives it back to you.
Oh my god.
Because he did recognize a lightsaber, but got 4 threats on that roll. He squeals and goes, and then hands it back because no one ever told him not to let somebody with a lightsaber come into the club.
One. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. He
malicious compliance.
That,
he's not paid enough.
They're like, yeah.
I was kind of hoping he would like turn it on and straight through, but
I was gonna say that could be the threat too, is he doesn't know which end it opens.
That would cause problems. Do you want to deal with?
No. I think him
one of the guards
was the best thing ever.
by a lightsaber in the vestibule, and there's the Jedi. They're not going to wait and ask you how it happened.
This Gamorrean is learned enough to know what a lightsaber is, but he's not smart enough to be able to interpret his own directions as a door guard.
Yeah, they were like, if anybody has blasters, take the blasters. If anybody has grenades, take the grenades. Here is a list of different kinds of weapons. But the guy only, he never thought, oh yeah, and if somebody with a lightsaber comes in, definitely make sure to stop
He assumed he
Whatever you say, boss.
So nobody ever told him that, so his tiny brain doesn't think, right, I should take every weapon. No, only the ones that he was told to take away from people.
This is the
they
TSA.
never listed that. Exactly.
Yes.
So
Straight TSA status.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay, yes, this was the lightsaber that set off the security, but it's fine. And you're allowed to continue in. The long, winding entryway into Vork's palace is set up in such a way that it curves and then doubles back on itself, and you can feel the temperature rising and the humidity as well as you make your way back, as it goes from the frigid, quite dry because of all of the constant snowfall air outside to a very warm, moist, practically swamp-like temperature and humidity once you've entered first of the 3 large rooms that make up the pleasure palaces of Vork. First outer room is a small room largely devoted to a small bar and tables where you see groups having social encounters and conversations. Past that is the largest room, where towards the back you can see an archway with an empty Hutt dais. There is an alcove for a band which is already playing some Hutt funk. There is a large bar, and you can see that this is the main room. Back through another archway, you can see that there is a third room here, smaller like the first, and in it you can see games tables. As you take in the surroundings, a rusted and slightly grungy protocol droid with flickering left photoreceptor makes its way over to you and welcomes you. Welcome, sir, to the pleasure palaces of Vork the Hutt.
That was a lot of pleasures. Hi there. I believe someone called ahead. I have an appointment with Spider.
Ah, yes, the gentleman from the Expats Club. If you could please follow me this way. You are led down a side corridor that twists and winds. There's a branching corridor down which you can see a set of stairs descending into the rock of the island, and you are eventually led to a bench outside of a door. The protocol droid signals at a telescreen on the outer wall of the room and identifies, the gentleman from the Expats Club has arrived, sir. And then tells you to wait a moment and asks you if you would like a refreshment.
I'd appreciate that, yes. Something cold, please.
You're left waiting for not an overly long amount of time while Spider concludes his business, and by the time you can hear the protocol droid returning down the corridor, the door to your right opens, and within the door frame you see a 5.5-foot tall tarantula man standing. He's wearing fine robes and has one hand still raised to the door control. He looks at you with all of his eyes and bows slightly. He says,
I am Spider of the Hutt Cartel. You are from the Expats Club? I do not believe I have had the pleasure, sir.
He gestures for you to enter and then precedes you into his office. This is a largish room. There is a couch and a table here back near the door, and you can see that down this long room at the far end is Spider's massive desk. The humidity and the temperature is even higher in this room, and you can see that Spider has in several pots along the walls dwarf trees growing just tall enough to stretch up and extend their branches along the ceiling. There is enough foliage in here that leaves crunch under your feet as you make your way to the 2 plush seats in front of the desk. There's a large terrarium seated there with a wetlands theme in which a large red frog sits on a pad, shifting itself as if trying to find a comfortable perch.
Well, greetings, Spider. I appreciate your time today, and I apologize for any interruptions my meeting may have caused you. I had hoped to meet you through other means, but thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
Of course. We always like to keep open communication with the expats.
To get right to the point, I hope you're aware that I'm planning on running a race in the area, and I figured it would be a fantastic opportunity for both your organization to make money and to also get the name out and help out the local area, especially us expats.
Yes, I've heard about this. None of the members of your organization have thought to speak with the cartel as to whether or not we will permit a race in our airspace, of course.
Well, it seems I've been put in charge of this event now, and I knew that I needed to talk to your organization to even allow it to go. But I think it's a good deal, and that we can work it out something, together.
And what is the expat club offering to the cartel?
I would say notoriety, and also get your name out there. We would love to host you and Vork as the guests of honor. And maybe the race could be made in your favor, or, made to end up in your favor.
A race in our favor, you say?
Well, if we already know the outcome of it.
Very interesting. I will have to speak to Vork, of course, before I can give any sort of agreement to a deal of this size, but I can speak to Vork at any time, of course.
Says,
when will the race be held? Vork would like to know as many details as possible before he makes his decision. He is, of course, off-world, so were he to be guest of honor, you would have to await his return. I'm sure he would assist on it.
Well, the race is set to begin in 2 weeks. Of course, we can change the times a little bit if we need to accommodate. But other than that, we have a few racers in mind, and maybe you would like to...
The cartel will be sponsoring one, Colvar.
Of course.
Well, I will speak to Vork and see what he thinks. He might have some quests of his own before I can give you permission, but begin your work. Make your plans. I will have an answer for you in a few days.
I thank you very much for your consideration. And I walk out.
All right. Excellent.
So did you just offer to fix the race for the cartel?
Yeah, and that's why Vork didn't...
no one else is there. No one else will know.
That's why Vork didn't have to make any checks against Spider at all.
Here's the danger, though. If this race gets fixed and the cartel wins, Spider can then blackmail you, threatening to say, "I'll tell the Imperials that you cheated them out of a win," and then that's the blackmail that he'll have over the expat club.
Who's gonna believe them over me?
I don't know. I mean,
it sounds like that's more
it's
of
a
threat.
risk.
It is a risk, but
I think it's hilarious if you think that every conversation in this office isn't being holo recorded.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. At the same point, who owns the space around us? Is it the
Hutts.
expat clubs? No.
No.
Is it the Imperials remnant? No.
Yeah.
Who's really in charge here is the Hutts. So if anything, as long as they're happy, we're relatively safe.
He's perfectly willing to double-cross either of them in the Hutt's favor.
For sure.
But
I am just thinking about the hot-blooded young Imperials who are here to watch a race and will probably trash the club when they find out the club conspired to make Griff Halloran lose a race.
Well, you make sure that doesn't come out then. Well, what I'm going to be concerned with is what the expats are going to think when they find out Xavix double-crossed them, when the Hutts insist that, the pink slips for the expat club are, their bet with the expats on the race. It's you can hold the race, and if you win, you get to keep your club, and if our guy wins, we get to keep your club, and if the remnant wins, they can stay for 2 more weeks before we march in an army of weakways and we take the club.
Yeah, so actually I have a plan for that.
Awesome.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have that conversation happen now so soon. That's what he's going to come back from Vork, obviously.
Yeah.
It's Vork's fine, but listen. Or that happens after, he might just make that bet with Colvar, you know what I mean, on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Since we've allowed you to run this race,
Yeah,
But-
I think in the meantime, for right now anyway, with this plan, I needed their go no matter what.
Oh,
And-
you offered them a sweet deal today. That's why you didn't even have to make a die roll, man. Because you were we want to host, we want to do the race, but we want it to be you're sponsoring it and you're the guest of honor. And shit,
Yeah.
you can win it even. Hutts like races and shit. They love that kind of stuff, period, anyway.
They're all about the
Yeah,
high
big
society,
spectacle that's about
exactly.
themselves and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
You know what? Before I leave the Hutt area, is there somebody there that looks like they're handling administration or any type of business work that I could maybe talk with to get more?
That sounds like a perception
connections
check.
in the area, or should I just go to Spider always?
Spider's the man. He's the major. He's the bib fortuna of this. Like Vork runs the place, and Spider is like his point guy. But with Vork not here, Spider is running the place, kind of thing. Like he doesn't have a number. His number 2 is Junior, and Junior is actually in Fishtown at the Expat Club. He's like the next guy down. Is like the dude who's hassles Zeef for them in Fishtown. You know.
Gotcha.
Like, he's the only capo I gave a name to so far. They might have a couple of capos in the city, but we're not going to like interface with them at any point.
Gotcha.
And in fact, before you leave the room, Spider says,
My man Junior over at the Expat Club will let you know when we come back. After I speak to Vork, we will meet again.
Alright, so I guess I'm being forced to leave now.
Can I get a perception check from you?
Yes.
2. See what you see on your way through. All right, so you have 1 failure and a threat, but you can, at no cost to you, turn your light side pips into either successes or advantages, so you can modify.
I'm going to take a little strain on this one. I'll use every single one of them. I will turn it into a success and not a threat anymore.
A success and an advantage then by spending 4. Yeah. Make 2 successes and 2 advantages. You take 2 strain. You flip a destiny point. On your way out of Spider's office, you notice that the potted plant there across from the bench has the remnants of like some kind of spider web, or like maybe a glue bomb went off over here. But there are all these filaments of strands of adhesive, against the wall, between the wall and this potted plant, where like maybe like a big spider spun a web or something that housekeeping never picked up. That's right outside the door. As you make your way into the main room, the largest of the 3 rooms of Vork's Pleasure Palace, you also notice, so that this isn't just so that those guys can laugh about the other session, you notice that a large section of the middle of the floor is set up to like open up. There's a huge seam in the middle, and it looks like a round oval of floor that is maybe 20 feet across the short way and 40 feet the long way. In the middle of the floor can open up and slide back to view down underneath the floor in what might seem, like a very stereotypical arrangement for a Hutt's main audience chamber. But, you want to feel like home even when you're on Iceball. So you notice that. You also notice that right now there are tables set up on top of it, and many patrons walking across without paying it any particular note or whatever. So it's not like the largest and most obvious trap door in the world or anything. So you're going to get that out of your perception check, as well as these guys getting their yards.
But I don't really feel the need to go investigate a trap door.
What you should do is you should communicate that knowledge to Zeef for later.
I think that's what I'll do, is I'll save that info.
If you really piss off Borg, he might drop you through the floor.
I feel like if anyone needs to know about a fucking Hutt trap door, it would be Zeef.
Yeah, because you're like the guy to get thrown through it until the Carcaro brothers show up.
I was born to be fed to a Rancor, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would suck. All right, let's see. Let's leave the Hutt area, a little huddly, and go back outside. This time, I've actually taken no. I've got no destiny thing as well.
There are no destiny points
on comms. Zeef and Worum.
You can absolutely call them, but we're not going to follow the camera into this conversation because I don't know what they're going to be up to at the end of the intervening segment between your 2 segments. So we are going to stop here, and we are going to come into your conversation with Zeef and Worum in the second half of their race.
Cool.
When we do their race stuff, which we won't get to tonight.
Did we do enough to get like XP? I mean, David's the one that did anything, but does he get XP?
David did enough to catch up with you guys, and I deliberately didn't give you guys XP because you were in the middle of combat. So This is David's version of when you guys did some stuff but didn't get XP. And after the next session where we're all here, you guys will get XP for that session plus what David did now and what you guys did 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we'll get double XP at that point for these 2 half sessions and that session. Because by then, both of your encounters should be over, so you'll get the XP for the encounters, and David will get the XP for all of his accomplishments. Meantime, which will definitely include like a +5 because he's got a half check now from talking to the Hutts kind of thing. So, and depending on how the turtles do, and I'm going to roll for some of that, we're going to see how the turtles did fixing one of those 2 rings. He might even move that half check, a little bit more towards a full check. Looks like Mitch and his crew have been triumphantly successful at... So we'll say that they fixed the completely broken ring. And they only have the one that only had a couple of systems. They went to work on the harder job first, and they knocked it out. They took a couple of strain while doing that, or maybe they've pissed off the Remnant because they don't like seeing these non-humans around, and they've all been staying behind closed doors. What are they doing in there? They're fucking with Griff Halloran's fighters, what they're doing in there. We got to show these aliens that they can't fix the race before the race, kind of a deal. But it's only 2 threats, so it's not going to be a lot of all of that. But you know what? I got Destiny Point to switch as well. So the turtles went into the hangar and they successfully fixed a race ring, but because I've got a bunch of Dark Side Destiny and some threat, they're going to be slightly ill-disposed towards you when you next encounter them because they think that the turtles are in there putting in the fix. And you're going to have to deal with ISB Agent Hot Pants about that when next you see her. We don't have to roll for obligation because Zeef's obligation is already on planet and trying to kill him with a flamethrower.
Yep.
So we don't really need to roll
currently
to
happening.
see if he's going to have a lowered strain threshold or not, because I will be climbing towards his wound threshold instead.
Great.
That'll be it for the session. Otherwise, then, a nice quick one tonight.